Bruce Springsteen Live provides fans with an intimate look into Springsteen's creative process. The Bruce Springsteen Live exhibit opens at the Woody Guthrie Center on Saturday, April 16th, running through Sunday, September 25th. The exhibit will feature iconic artifacts, live performance footage, instruments, stage costumes, exclusive interviews, concert posters, and photography, as well as unique interactive displays to immerse fans in Bruce Springsteen and the band's creative process. More information can be found at woodyguthrieCenter.org. Please let them know that Set Listing Bruce sent you there, and I'll see you in Tulsa.
I didn't want to go with obscure Springsteen songs. I think that was a cheating your way out of it. If I was going to pick a song, even if it was underrated, it would be something that tracks or something that wasn't on Devils and Dust. Like I'm gonna hit hard here, right?
Okay.
So, and I mean, when you're picking on Springsteen songs, it's like you're picking on Michael Jordan's game or Tom Brady's game. Basically,
exactly.
You're looking for things. So, bear with us when we're picking some of these songs that might have some people up in arms. So.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson, and my good friend, Joe Carbonara, is coming back. He is asking me a very good question. Why are you podcasting so much, Jesse? And I guess I am just addicted to talking to Bruce fans. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you?
I am great. We both established before we hit record that it's cold where both of we are.
That's right.
And so I just had a nice warm cup of coffee to get ready for the podcast. And so for someone who hasn't heard the first episode with you, tell us about yourself.
And thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it. It was a great experience the first time. So I'd love to come back. It was great. Basically, I'm a 47-year-old who lives in Southern Ontario of Canada. So kind of very close to the border of Buffalo and not too far away from Toronto. I have 3 kids, 3 boys, all under the age of 10. So pretty busy.
Absolutely.
I'm married. I'm a school teacher, elementary school teacher. So that's what I do for a living. And I've been living in the Southern Ontario area for my entire life. So it's kind of born and raised here.
Yeah, that's home.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, Joe was on. We had a great time talking. And so we were on Twitter and I had reached out to a couple of people the way I do. If, someone tweets about Bruce or has a comment, I go, hey, you can always join me on the podcast. And Joe said, hey, I'd love to be back on again. And I said, oh, okay. And you have not done Songs of Your Life.
No.
And so it's been a while since I've done an episode of this. So for those of you who may be new to the podcast, bear with me. There's a little bit of background. The sports station I listen to, The Ticket, would, before the pandemic, would have a segment every week where they would say the biggest show coming to town. And so they would have a list of all the concerts that were coming to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they would discuss them. And then they would give them an excuse to talk about who all's touring. And at the end of the segment, everyone would vote who was the biggest act that week,
Okay.
And then the pandemic hit. And no one's touring.
Yeah, killed that.
Yeah, so they came up with a bands of your life, and the premise was 11 questions, and you could only pick one band once. So, band I wish I'd seen live, band that changed my life, things like that. You couldn't pick more than one. And that was a lot of fun. And my son and I were talking about it, and he said, Dad, you should do something Bruce related with that format. And I started thinking about it, and I came out, wow, what if I asked the same 11 questions, but the premise is they need to be Bruce Springsteen songs, but you can only use a song once. So that's where the story came from. I've had different people attend and do this. And so I sent the premise over to Joe, and Joe immediately, okay, you've already got me thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I forgets lesson plans,
Yeah, I
planning.
stopped the lesson planning. I'm like, I have some serious stuff to do here.
Yeah.
Some serious research.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your process. Did you immediately know, like, some songs, like, okay, I know this is the answer to this one, or did you move things around?
Well, first off, it was stressful. It was stressful. I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have said yes. But no, basically, I wanted to go with, like, I didn't want to go with obscure Springsteen songs. I think that was like kind of like a cheating your way out of this.
Right.
So if I was going to pick a song, even if it was underrated, it would be something that wasn't on Tracks, or something that wasn't on Devils and Dust. Like, I'm talking, I'm gonna hit hard here. Right.
Okay.
So, and I mean, when you're picking on Springsteen songs, it's like you're picking on Michael Jordan's game or Tom Brady's game. Basically,
exactly.
Like, you're looking for things. So bear with us when we're picking some of these songs that might have some people up in arms. So
and if you don't like Joe's answers, reach out to me, and you can do your own version of songs of your life. Because this is a fun episode. It's always a good way to, especially if someone had a really good time on the first interview and they's like, man, I'd really love to do this again. I do that often, like I did with you. I'm like, oh, well, here's another way to do, and it gives you a different perspective and different stories to tell.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I have my list as well. So I won't force you, but if you're curious what my picks, I will tell you if you want.
Of course.
So, all right, we start out the negative.
Yeah, I don't want to be the only hated one. So
yeah, what is the song you hate, or if you want to be a little kinder, you don't get?
Okay. For this, I have a couple, but for this one,
and it's okay to give some honorable mentions.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going with Kitty's Back.
Ah, okay.
I just don't. And again, it's a great song, but I just don't get. I don't know if it's nostalgia, but when Springsteen fans hear this in a concert and they just go nuts for it. I don't get Kitty's Back. It's not a song I've ever seeked out to play. In the 30 years of me listening to Springsteen. So that would probably be one that's not too obscure.
Yeah.
And then I went with like Outlaw Pete and Gypsy Biker, kind of two other ones that I just don't really get and kind of just hit skip.
So I would agree with all three. I ended up being, I thought, like, Swallowed Up in the Belly of a Whale is a song I just do not like.
Yeah.
So that was my choice on that. I think all three of those are pretty good. In fact, I've told the story that I could not stand Outlaw Pete. And I think If I Was the Priest is what Outlaw Pete wanted to be. Until I bought the children's book. And reading the children's book, I was like, oh, I like this song a little bit more with the illustrations. So there. All right. Song that you think is overrated. So it's not that you think it's a bad song. You just think, man, why are people making such a big deal about this one?
All right. This one I'm going to get, you might get some hate mail, or I might get some hate Twitter.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and lay down fire for you. My choice was was
you go
Jungle
first.
Land.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was Jungle Land. And
Okay.
I will tell you, people's jaws drop when I said that. And they're like, I'm like, I get it. I understand the iconic saxophone, but it's just, like people are peeing in their pants when they, like, oh, he went from meeting to Jungle Land, meeting to Jungle Land. Oh, I'm like, eh. So go ahead, Joe.
Well, I'm gonna go with the same album, and I'm gonna hit heavy here, and for me, it's Born to Run.
Wow.
Like, so you got to bear with me here when it comes
Okay,
to this.
you got to explain a little bit of that
Okay.
one.
I mean, I know the song took 6 months to write in the whole bit,
Yeah.
and it's a great song, but I can't stand the 1975 early versions.
Yeah.
It's like a runaway train. It's 100 miles an hour, and I don't like it. That's one of the reasons. So as it kind of went on, later on, especially in the reunion tour, I really enjoyed the version there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like what Bruce said, it's summational. It's kind of more nostalgic now than anything else. Like, people join in the chant of Born to Run. I'm not sure many of them were actually born to run. Like, for me, I was born to hang out. I enjoyed staying. And I think it's very personal to Bruce. And we kind of, because he said, basically, listen to the lyrics. I wanted the hell out. And it's just not something that, I feel, but in concert at the end of the night and the lights are up and, we're all raring to go and we're ready to go home and let's finish this. It's a great song, but, not my favorite. And I'll segue into one of the other ones. It's not, and what I feel is not the best one on that album either.
What's interesting is my buddy Sam always talks about that he would just love to go to a show and him not do Born to Run, because that's a slot that could go to another song, right?
Yep.
And then you go back to, but if it's your first Bruce show, you are going to be sad you don't get Born to Run.
That's
so
right.
I get that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I even wonder if I even asked you a question, and maybe you can answer this at the end, but if Bruce played you a private show and you only had maybe 5 songs to choose, are you choosing Born to Run as one of them? So it'd be interesting to see what Bruce fans would say, if that, or even in your top 10. I don't know, but it wouldn't be my top 5. I know that.
So that's an idea. Maybe in a month or so, we'll have you back and we'll each pick what's our 5. You can only have 5.
Sure. Okay.
Of personal concerts, right? You've won the lottery, you've hit it big, you've designed some Apple app that's made you billions of dollars, and then you get to, hey, Bruce, come on. All right. So we'll put that in the back of our head.
Okay.
All right. What is a song you think is underappreciated?
For that one, I'm going back to the Born to Run album, and I'm going with Backstreets.
Oh, wow.
For me, that's the best song on the album.
Okay.
Especially that live version in '78 when it was Backstreet's Sad Eyes kind of together, and just so powerful. And I feel like with Born to Run and Thunder Road and 10th Avenue, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like, you kind of forget about that particular song, or even which album was that. And for me, it's just a spectacular song. And if I'm talking about Main Street Springsteen songs, I mean, there's all kinds of underappreciated songs. And I heard your last pod.
Yeah.
I'm sure that wasn't easy, but for me, Backstreets is just an incredible song. For me, it sums up that album of friendship. And I think it kind of gets lost in the shuffle there.
All right. Very nice. Mine was Better Days.
Great song.
So, yeah. All right. 4, song that you love.
I'm going with Price You Pay.
Oh, okay.
From The River.
Okay.
Yeah, that song, it's just something I really that's the words. I really love that song. And I play it often when I get to school in the morning before the kids get in there, and it just puts me in a particular mood. I just really love. I mean, those two albums were incredible, but I really love The Price You Pay.
Okay. Ooh, good
Yeah.
answer. Good. I said Thunder Road. I went with the easy one. You know, that
Okay.
was
Yeah.
I knew I had to put Thunder Road in somewhere, and that was the
Somewhere.
slot I gave. All right.
Yeah.
What is a song you could listen to over and over again?
I'm going with Something in the Night
Oh, wow.
from Darkness.
Hmm.
I never get sick of that song, and
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and I often seek that out, and that's almost another one I could be in the underrated, kind of gets lost too, but I absolutely love Something in the Night, and could listen that over and over again. I never get sick of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I
Yeah.
like that. That's interesting. Good. All right. What's the song that made you fall in love with Bruce?
What was yours for that one?
Oh, mine is
Yeah.
Tougher Than the Rest.
Okay.
I never get tired of Tougher Than the Rest, whether it's him and Patty, whether it's him alone or a cover. I really love the diversity of people that do cover the Tougher Than the Rest. So that's a song that I'm just always happy to hear over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminds me like I'm on Fire. When you hear covers of I'm on Fire,
Yeah.
people tend to do those. One of those
Yeah.
songs that really enjoyable. That's a good pick.
Okay.
That's a real good one.
All right. Song that made you
Yeah.
fall in love with Bruce.
Probably Born in USA.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 10 years old, pretty impressionable, and then that whole just the way he looked with the leather jacket or the cut off sleeves, that whole, and it probably the first video, when videos
Right.
were popular on TV, probably the first video that I saw. And I just thought he was so cool.
Yeah.
And the video was cool, and the power of that song, and just being a great anthem of a song. So that was the fall in love moment. I was like, why can't I get muscles like that or whatever? This the whole
Yes.
thing, like the whole
Sure.
persona, right? It was just, it was awesome. So that was it for me.
So I am the cliche. It is Born to Run.
Okay.
That is the song that I can I certainly remember Buying the River and Hungry Heart, being on the radio and everything, but I remember just the Born to Run, the whole different tempos and all the different things, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of crashing on. And so it is, I think, I just had the guys, fellow Canadians, the Skip and Josh podcast, and they just did their favorite albums of the 80s. And Skip, who's a huge Springsteen fan, said Born in the USA was the album. And he gave a shout out to me. He said, our friend Jesse talked about that's often the gateway album.
Yep.
That is what gets you into Bruce, that
sure.
album. And then you go and explore all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
great choice. Great 100% choice.
100% agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Song that changed your life.
For me, it was basically an accident. It was the first song that was played for me, and it was off of the Born in the USA album, which I mentioned in our first podcast. It was my uncle played "Cover Me."
Oh yeah.
And the maybe some people like the song, maybe some people don't, but it was powerful. Bruce's vocal, the guitar playing, that was the one that I first heard, and then that's what got me curious, and I wanted to know more. So,
the moment you said that, I said, damn, I should have known that, because you told the story in the previous episode that you talked about that, it was, you went, I mean, almost like if you've ever had a puppy or a dog that they hear a sound and their head goes up and all of a sudden they're listening.
Yeah.
And that you said that was what it was when you heard that song.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Mine was Land of Hope and Dreams.
Okay.
I was kind of a casual fan, and I starting to become a major fan. And I kind of had a family situation. I won't go into the details, but it was a tough time.
Yeah.
And I started playing that song, you know, faith will be rewarded, this train, and that idea that, you know, leave your baggage and let's go forward, really helped me get through this difficult time.
Yeah.
And so it is, you know, I've said Better Days and Land of Hope and Dreams are my two favorite Springsteen songs. Then number 3 rotates depending on the mood.
Yeah.
So that's what I picked because of this, because of the emotional context of what happened to me. And it continued. It was on my F Cancer playlist when I was fighting that. And there is still, when I hear a live version or something, when he says, you know, for the longest time, this is Land of Hope and Dreams, you know, while the band's going on, I get the hairs going up on my body right now.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great video too. I think it's the Barcelona DVD.
Yes. Yeah.
And at the end, the lights, you know, let me see your hands. Everybody's got their hands up, and he goes into that kind of a little rant. It's so powerful.
It is.
It's a great song. A great song live. Spectacular song.
All right. Song that surprised you.
Well, I guess it's more of an album, but I could pick any song from there. But like Western Stars, I didn't really give it a chance when it came out. It was one of those that I think when did Western Stars come out? Maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2 years and 8 months ago.
Okay.
And the reason why I know specific is, and excuse me, listeners, excuse me, Joe, let me go on a mini rant.
Yes.
Skip ahead a minute if you don't want to hear Jesse on a rant. There is someone on Twitter who shall remain nameless that tweeted late last week or early this week, as we're recording this, that I wish Bruce would do something. Paul McCartney's done so much, you know, and
I saw that tweet,
and I started looking, and I went when Western Stars was released, and it was, you know, 2 years and 8 months, and I'm like, okay, since then. He's put out 2 studio albums. He's put out a song soundtrack. He's re-released, you know, if you want to call it a mini box set, the No Nukes. He's done a podcast with an ex-president. They've got a book based on that. He's returned to Broadway. You know, he played at the inaugural. He played at the 9/11 memorial. He played at, you know, a benefit concert. He's done From My Home to Yours. You know, what the fuck do you want him to do? I mean, just seriously, what the hell do you want? So anyway, end of rant.
Yeah. That person wanted Bruce at their front door playing, I think, pretty much.
Well, so. and I've said, this person has been very honest. They want tracks too. That's all. I mean, anytime Bruce announces something, if it's not tracks 2, they're disappointed.
Okay.
So my point is, okay, tweet going, once again, it's another month and Bruce hasn't announced track 2. Okay, at least we know what you're playing about. But to say the man's done nothing?
Yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now that I'm going to have to beep the F-bomb, or else I'm going to have to mark your episode explicit. And it's going to be because of me. All right. So I love the song that surprised me, being Western Stars. I think that's a great choice, because the reality is, I don't think any of us expected that. I mean, you know, and especially that style. Great choice. I love it.
Like a lot of them, before you get like a lot of them from there, like Sundown and Moonlight Motel, like Moonlight Motel is like something I'm listening to often. I'm like, Jesus, freaking good song. Like, but at the time, like I said, my third son was pretty young, like a couple months old, so I didn't have time to get into the songs, like when I was, you know, single and all that, and I just devoured things. So, and then when I had a little bit of time, that whole entire album, it doesn't matter what song you pick, they've all surprised. They just really grew on me. I can't believe how good that album is. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So I picked that. That's where I went with that.
I had the two owners of my podcast network. They've retired now, or they moved on to other things, and so I'm no longer part of Southgate Media. But to celebrate, Southgate Media was like on its 10th year or something, and I ended up having Rob and Martha, who are not Springsteen fans. They're big Wilco fans. They're big music fans, but they're just never have gotten into Bruce. And so they watched Western Stars, the film,
Okay.
and they came back raving about it.
Wow.
They just were like, this is a side of Bruce Springsteen we've never seen before. The film is amazing. So yeah, I think a great choice. I said Waiting on a Sunny. I said Girls with Their Summer Clothes.
Okay.
I did not. When I first started listening to Bruce, I always thought Racing in the Street was an adult Beach Boy song, right? You've got Fun, 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 Little Deuce Coupe, all these different, songs. And all of a sudden, Bruce is still talking about hot rods, and he's talking about racing, but a totally different way. And then when I heard Girls with Their Summer Clothes, it just sounded so much like a Beach Boy song.
Yeah.
And a Brian Wilson song. So that I loved the magic, but hearing that song, I went, where did this come from? So that was my choice.
Yeah. Great choice. Great song.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure.
So by this, do you mean like a song that or that I wouldn't admit to, kind of thing? Like that I listen to these songs?
Yes,
is
a
that,
song that yes, or well, let me tell you, I'll give you mine.
Okay.
Is Waiting on a Sunny Day.
Okay.
I love Waiting on a Sunny Day. I don't mind the kid getting up there and singing. That doesn't bother me. Anytime I hear it, I smile. I remember once I was in line to pick up my packet at Dragon Con, which is a huge convention in Atlanta. And it's like, it's a 2-hour line to pick up your ticket because it's so crowded. And so I had my MP3 player back then. And, I played Waiting on a Sunny Day 2 or 3 times in a row. I just love that song. And I know so many fans are like, Waiting on a Sunny Day, shut that kid up. Oh, I can't believe that's the worst song ever. So that's my guilty pleasure that I hate to just, I like, and I had somebody tell me, well, like, I like Night with a Jersey Devil. Why are you talking bad about Night on Jersey Devil? Like, really? Like the worst song he's ever done? So anyway, there, I've given you another
it's
cover.
funny, Waiting on a Sunny Day, like that's the first song I've ever played for all of my kids, right? Like,
right.
I just kind of got catchy and that drum at the beginning is, I like Waiting on a Sunny Day too, but mine were like, I'm going more like from like Human Touch.
Okay.
Just because I know like the dreaded 2 albums that people hated, but and even a couple from maybe Tunnel of Love, but like I enjoy listening to I Wish I Were Blind.
Oh yeah, that's a great choice.
I may not be a choice, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I love that song. And then a couple from Tunnel of Love, like I like When You're Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And All That Heaven Will Allow. So kind of those lovey-dovey ones. I don't know. I love the songs. They're not, the typical Bruce songs like from those early 70s or late 70s. Yeah. But
I love all those, but I especially love the line where he's talking about, All That Heaven Will Allow, where he says some men want to, die young, young and gloriously. Now get it straight, mister. That ain't me.
That ain't me.
I want all the time that heaven can allow. Yeah. And there was a guy who was Lynette Carolla's friend. I wish I could remember his name, but he was talking about when he had cancer, he would play that song over and over again because that I don't want to die young. I want all the time that heaven will allow.
Yeah.
And so I had that on my cancer playlist, and I thought of that when I'd hear that line, it brings tears to my eyes. So great choices, all those. And like I said, Waiting on a Sunny Day is mine, just because and I, I'm waving at you, Fran. You know, Brucey Red Lips on Twitter, she cannot stand that song. And I always like to pick at her on Twitter about that.
Yeah, I saw some hate. I saw some hate on Twitter about Sunny Day.
Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
fun song. I still
Right.
enjoy it. I still
Exactly.
enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. What's a song you wish you'd seen live?
Um, I think all the heavy hitters like I've seen before. So
Okay.
this was a tough one to kind of like, go and find something. But I think it would have been cool to see like that Prove It All night with that intro, that
Yeah.
guitar intro, like that he used
Mhm.
to do in '70. I think he did it later on when he was.
Yeah.
But I never got to see see
Okay.
that. I don't know, that was a tough one for me. To maybe whatever you say might jog my
Yeah.
memory with something else, but
So I was born in Louisiana. My dad was in the Army, moved around a lot, but by the time I was in the 8th grade, we had settled back in Louisiana. I stayed, that was probably 71, 72. I stayed in Louisiana till 86. When Lynn and I got married in 84, we moved to Dallas at 86. And I went to my university that I lasted 2 years and then dropped out, was Matinee State University, and Jolie Blanc was their fight
okay,
song.
there you go.
You're there on Saturday night at the college football field, and every time the Matinee State Cowboys scored a touchdown, the band played Jolie Blanc. So when I heard Bruce doing that, and Gary Yos Bonds doing it, I just was like, I love this song. And the odds of me getting that live are just crazy. Like if I
For
was the
sure.
sign guy, I would have Jolie Blanc. I'd be the guy like going that. But
Yeah.
that is a song I wish I'd seen live. There is a couple of times in Australia, right, where you Google and you'll see he pulled up the sign and he'll say very obscure, very
Yeah.
obscure. And they do the band, and Charlie comes out with the accordion and Susie's with the fiddle, and at the end Bruce is like, good call, good call.
Nice.
So that's my choice.
Cool.
All right, number 11, the very last. Great song to see live. You can't say all of them.
Yeah, I know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of got, I kind of got my mind kind of jogged a little bit because I saw somebody's tweet today.
Yeah.
I think it was Spring Nuts did a video on Trapped.
Right.
And Trapped is like, I remember I bought that We Are the World CD back whenever it came out, whenever I was young, and like hearing Trapped was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I actually did get to hear Trapped in 2002 at the Sky Dome, now at the Rogers Center or whatever. But so Trapped to be one, but I mean, you got to hear Badlands. I think that's
great choice.
To me, that's the ultimate Springsteen live song, More Than Born to Run. That to me is, if you put a non-Springsteen fan in the stadium and was part of Badlands, I don't know how you couldn't love that 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah. It's just completely amazing. So Trapped would be a good one to catch, although it's not really a Springsteen song, but Badlands for me is the ultimate.
Great choice. I have to echo that. Mine was 10th Avenue Freeze album. And the reason why is because it's such an epic, like everyone loves Jungle Land, but I love 10th Avenue Freeze Out, where they're doing the intro and they over and over again before he even starts singing. And then like when it's the live in New York, where he takes that, it's a 20-minute, it's a concert in itself, where he says, you need your, I went across the river and they said, son, you need a band, and then he does the band intro. It brings me joy.
Yeah, that whole thing, the whole 10th Avenue seemed to get better when in 99 when he
Yeah.
jumps on the piano, wrings out his shirt and gets
Yeah.
looking up at the crowd. It is like you could just see that and say that's what a concert is. That's all, that's what
Yeah.
you need. That 7 minutes or 8 minutes,
Yeah.
however long that thing is, right? Like
Yeah.
he encompasses everything in what a concert should be just in that song.
Yeah. And that's why, yeah, I picked that. The other thing is, and we were just talking about that on Twitter, the Dream Baby Dream video that came out while they were in Australia, and it had that cover and they had all the audience, and it's in the rain and the people,
Yeah.
that I think tells you a lot of what the experience of going to a Bruce Springsteen concert is for the audience. But you're right. If someone came to me and said, okay, show me why you think seeing Bruce Springsteen is amazing live, you could pull up that 10th Avenue Freeze out and go, and at the end of it, if you go, didn't speak to me, okay, then it's not your cup of tea.
No, they
But most people are going to
you're
go,
dead.
wow, yeah, or you're dead. Exactly. Absolutely.
Or you have no soul. I'm not sure.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes.
Well, it was funny because on YouTube, those reactionary whatever videos, people never seen Bruce or whatever. One of the guys is watching 10th Avenue Freeze Out, and whether it's real or not, but the guy is like totally in awe of that video of that 10th Avenue Freeze Out, right?
I'll have to look that up and find it. That sounds
it's,
fun.
It's pretty cool. Like it reminds me of even like the first time I got to see like the Detroit medley.
Yeah.
At the end of a concert, and that whole 12 minutes is just spectacular, right? And,
that's another thing. I've never seen that live. So that would be another one that I would really like, that would be good to see.
I remember I saw that like one of those like I don't know, one of those kind of VH1 specials when I was young. And it was during the Born in the USA tour, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I did get to experience it, and it was really neat. Bruce really gives it his all, and during that time. So it's one of those songs that, again, if you want to experience one song or what the whole concert's like, Bruce can do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly.
He doesn't really need 3 hours.
All right. Before I let you go, how is our young Bruce doing? How is your son? And for those of you who don't know, follow Joe on Twitter. He's going to give you his handle in a few minutes. He has 3 boys, as he mentioned. The first 2, I'm sure, are very fine young men. But his youngest is the one that will steal your heart. And if Joe ever gets divorced, it's because of that young kid.
Pretty much. My wife's had enough of the Bruce, but we can't stop it. We cannot stop the machine. He's just I don't really need to talk about it or push. I'm the one who's saying, okay, like it's not time to talk about Bruce right now. He is just really, now it's She's the One, that's the one he's all over, and Rosalita. This infatuation or obsession has not stopped. He has his little guitar, and he'll watch the videos and he'll learn the words, and he absolutely just loves them. And I don't know where it started. So if he keeps that up and then becomes a soccer superstar, I've gotten everything.
Exactly. For parents in the US, a lot of dads will say, they'll take, especially if they're baseball fans, they will take the ball and put it in his left hand. Like, I'm trying to make him a left-handed pitcher, right? Like, no, left hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, you haven't even tried. I mean, he just is. And, when you tweet little videos of him, I just can see your lovely bride rolling her eyes. Bruce told the story, right, that his dad, it was never the guitar, it was the GD guitar. I don't know why after I've already said the F-bomb. But I could just imagine with your lovely bride, it's GD Bruce.
Oh yeah, she's like enough, like, and he loves to get through the books. Like, I have a ton of of books that I've collected over the years,
Yeah.
and he will go through them over, and she's like, enough of the Bruce books. Like he's like this. She's like, this kid has to start reading some like picture books or whatever.
Yeah,
And like,
something. Yeah.
yeah, he just no, he wants something to do it, but he'll go through like Land of Hope and Dreams, Frank Stefanko's book over and
Yeah.
over again. That giant Born to Run book,
Yeah.
that black and white one.
Yeah.
Loves that. Has gone through that thing like a million times. So, yeah. He basically thinks Bruce is like his uncle.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, he is.
yeah, that's kind of where he's at with that. Like,
Yeah.
Bruce will be proud of me that I ate my lunch or ate my dinner. I'm like, yeah, he'll be proud.
Bruce will be happy I ate my green beans, huh, Dad?
Pretty much.
Like, yes, he will.
So yeah, we use it. It's almost like a consequence now. It's like, if you don't do this, I'm taking away your books, and he'll freak out. So it's, Bruce is kind of part of the parenting that's going on in this house.
I love that. That is awesome. That is great.
It's funny.
All right. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, I think we're good. I just, again, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been a blast.
It's great. I just am so glad. And I'm glad we got to connect. Let's keep in touch. And yeah,
it'd be great if you can ever come down here. It's a little bit of wine country. Those of you on the podcast that enjoy wine, we have Niagara on the Lake over here. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, we have our own little wine country here. If you like your rye or whiskey, we're pretty known for over here too. So
okay, with that now, we've gone to Kentucky to do the Kentucky Bourbon Trail a couple of times, and that's one of our favorite vacations. So that would be good. I emailed today, as we go on a little side note. Tickets went on sale for the Springsteen live exhibit in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the Woody Guthrie Center. And it's a traveling exhibit of, they said they have, not only clothing, but they have one of Bruce's guitars. They have one of Clarence's saxophones. They've got some other, it sounds some really cool things. Yeah. There is, I guess there's an exhibit where you can do set lists and compare it to what Bruce's set list. So it sounds like a pretty fun thing. And so I reached out to their head of PR, and she answered me back saying that, yes, she'll be glad to interview with me, but she gave me the name of a guy who's in charge of it and copied him and said, I really think you want to talk to him. And so I emailed him back saying, hey, I have a fair amount of downloads. And I said, I said, Bruce fans will travel, especially with no tour. So we're going to see. So that'll be fun. So maybe we can do it. So
you'll have him. Is he going to be on? Are you going to have this? Are you going to have him?
Yeah,
on?
I'm going to have the guy on. Yeah,
cool.
I think so. Yeah. So that should be fun. I'm excited about that. And so cool. I'm hoping that we can coordinate. I've got probably a half dozen to a dozen Dallas fans that have either been on the podcast or I know. And so I'm hoping we can kind of work out a road trip, because it's only about 4.5 hours, 5 hours from Dallas. So let's caravan up, or I'll get up there and then I'll go with that. Yeah. So
make a day of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Joe, be safe. Try to stay warm.
We'll try.
Thank you so much. If someone wants to reach you, how can they?
At One Boss Fan.
Yes.
On Twitter. Yep.
Follow him, and you will be blessed with videos of a young Springsteen fan.
Yeah, we'll try to drop a few more.
That'd be great.
Go by. Yeah.
I want to. Let's see this latest one. That'd be good.
Yeah.
All right. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can reach the show at Set Listing Bruce. If you want to be on the show and do your songs of the life, setlistingbruce@gmail.com. Email me and let me know. We'll make it happen. And for now, go get vaccinated, go get boosted. Let's all be kind to each other. That's how we're going to get through this. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, listeners. And we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at setlistingbruce, and my personal Twitter is at Jesse Jackson DFW. We have a website, www.setlistingbruce.com. From there, you can find links to other Springsteen podcasts, as well as other music-themed podcasts. We have a page devoted to our own SLB All-Star Band. These are guests who have been on the podcast more than 3 times. There is a link to our store where you can purchase Set Listing Brew shirts, as well as a Mary Question t-shirt. There is a link to our Patreon page where you can sign up to help support the podcast financially. We have different levels and different rewards based on your support. If you don't have any extra cash, and right now, who does? You can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference. You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.